Callaway's new Rogue ST drivers represent a breakthrough in driver performance. The Rogue ST drivers are Callaway's fastest, most stable drivers ever. Think speed, go Rogue with Callaway, the kings of distance. To find out which Rogue ST driver is right for you, visit callawaygolf.com.au.
Hello and welcome to episode 59 of The Thing About Golf, Golf Australia magazine's ongoing quest to figure out what it is that hooks people on this wonderfully infuriating game. Rod Morrie's my name, and alongside my colleague John Huggan, we get to chat to some of the most interesting people in golf, from major winners to administrators and everyone in between. On this episode, it's the former who's in the hot seat, as 1999 Open champion Paul Lawrie subjected himself to an in-depth grilling. John Huggan is the man asking the questions on this occasion. He joins me now to give a little teaser about what we can expect over the next hour or so. Huggy, welcome. Paul Lawrie strikes me as one of the game's genuinely good people. Before we chat about his place in the game, that remarkable 1999 win, have I got that right, or has he somehow fooled me?
No, yeah, he's definitely one of the good guys. You just have to look at some of the stuff that Paul is into. I mean, his eponymous Golf Foundation for Juniors has been a raging success for the last, I don't know how many years now. It must be getting close to 20 years now. Mm-hmm. That in itself is enough to recommend Paul Lawrie to anybody, but he's into so many other things. He's now an agent. He mentors players. He's involved with Scottish golf on the side of, the directions they should be taking. He's on the board at the European Tour, or what was the European, now the DP World Tour. So I don't know how. If you think I'm busy, you should see what this guy gets up to. He's unbelievable.
Look, lots of top players attach their names to stuff, Huggy, and that's a very easy thing to do, and it's not without merit. They're to be congratulated for doing it. But he strikes me as a guy who gets in and actually does it. He personally mentors players. He's been terrific with some of the young Scottish girls in particular. You see on Twitter, there's a genuine affection for him amongst the up-and-coming players, isn't there? Because what he does, he very much does hands-on.
Well, there is, yeah. I mean, just on the junior foundation thing. I mean, he gives a lot of credit to his wife Marion, who, quite rightly, she's heavily involved in the running of that. But he actually pitches up and presents the prizes whenever he's around. Yeah. I mean, these kids. It must be great for these kids to, this guy won the Open, for goodness sake. I mean, you forget that. I mean, it kind of gets downplayed a little bit. I mean, the John Van de Velde craziness at the end and all the rest of it, but people forget that Paul Lawrie went round Carnoustie in 1967 on the last day there on a brutal golf course, maybe the most brutal golf course we've ever seen. And he shot 67, and he played by far the best golf in the playoff. Mm-hmm. But that all kind of gets lost in the shuffle. I mean, I know that a magazine with which I'm associated sent a writer to Europe to interview John Van de Velde after that Open, but they didn't send one to interview Paul Lawrie, which basically says everything you need to know about that.
It is a shame, isn't it, Huggy? But it's one of those events. It's a little bit like the 96 Masters. We so often, when we think of that, we think of Greg Norman and his collapse, not Faldo and his brilliance in winning. And Paul Laurie's been a victim of a similar thing, hasn't he? He was brilliant in winning, but the comedy of errors that was John Van der Velde's 18th hole is always going to steal the limelight. Did you talk to him about that? Is he at peace with that? I mean, he's got the trophies. He gets the last laugh, but is he at peace with that?
Yeah, I think he is now. It took him a while. It used to irritate him. In fact, it actually made him ill. I mean, a few years ago, I helped him write his autobiography, and there was a section in there about how he actually was suffering from depression for 2 or 3 months. Couldn't get off the couch because of he was just so fed up with the lack of recognition or credit, whatever you want to say, after his Open win, and it got to him. Actually affected his health. It got to that stage, but he's well past that now, and I think he's got it in perspective, as he should. I mean, as you say, there's only one name on the trophy, and that's his. Yeah,
indeed. He's really become quite an elder statesman, hasn't he? He's grown into that role of major champion. He certainly carries himself like a major champion, doesn't he?
Yeah, very much so. I'm probably a little bit biased here. I mean, I like Paul a lot, and as I said, I helped him write his book, so I probably know more about Paul Lawrie than any man should know. it's not it's not the healthiest position to be in terms of being unbiased. So I mean, he's a pal of mine. So I do like him a lot, and I think he deserves all the credit that he gets. He's starting to get it now. I think people are starting to realise just how much he's contributed to the game beyond his playing career.
He's one of those, Huggy, who's managed to maintain his humility and down-to-earthedness, a word I just invented, despite reaching the very highest levels of the game. He's to be applauded for that at the very minimum, and everything else as well. Been great to have a chat to you, and really looking forward to listening to you chat with Paul Lawrie.
Okay, Paul Lawrie, welcome to the Thing About Golf podcast. First question is always the same in these things. What was or is the thing about golf for you?
Well, first of all, thank you for asking me on. What is golf for me? Well, golf for me has changed, as it would do for a lot of players through the years. I got involved in golf, or started golf on the back of playing a lot of football when I was young, and it became pretty apparent that I wasn't going to be Gordon Strachan or Willie Miller, and I didn't like the team aspect of it. Some weeks I would play well, and other guys wouldn't, and vice versa. Some weeks I would play terrible, and the guys had a great game, and we still lost. I found that quite difficult about football, and then it became clear I wasn't going to make it as a pro. So then I thought, my dad plays a bit of golf, I'll try this golf thing. And straight away, I love the individual part of it. I love the fact that when I hit a bad shot, it was my fault, because back then I didn't have a coach or a caddy or anyone else that I could blame. Mm-hmm. As you do as you get older. Yeah. So it was my fault. So I love that about it. But as time goes on and you become a pro and it becomes your living, it becomes more of a job than it does become a pleasure of playing it. And bits of it, people obviously don't like when players moan about it, but the travelling bit of it, and it does become a job, it becomes your living. Yeah. So the enjoyment comes away a little bit. And but it's gone full circle for me, I would say, to end it, because now I play a lot more bounce games and social golf, with sponsors of other players that I manage to try and keep the deals going and whatever, than I do actually play competitive golf. And I actually now enjoying golf again, and I'm out there just sort of having a game and having a bit of a laugh and not bothered about the fact that I'm 3 over after 7 and I've shanked 2 balls, whereas in my prime I would have been absolutely raging about that sort of stuff, but now it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, as certainly in my case, as you get older and less competitive, I mean, the score doesn't really matter.
No, and I was never that way when I played. Even when I played with the boys, if I would come home and they were desperate to go out for 9 holes, I would take them out for 9 holes, and I was still playing. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have let them win. Or if I hit a shot off line, I'd be practicing swinging to try and, what happened there? Whereas now, I mean, I've hit some horrendous shots in the last sort of year and a half playing bounce games with people, and honestly, it doesn't even register. It's weird how I've kind of gone much more relaxed about the whole thing, which is better, because you do get, when you play the game for a living, and it's important, you do get into yourself a wee bit too much, as opposed to just... My best golf was always when I wasn't bothered how I hit it, and I wasn't bothered my score, and I ended up playing well. It's weird.
But tour pros, of which you are still one, they're the centre of their own universes.
Yeah, unfortunately,
I mean, they have to be incredibly selfish. I mean, it's part of the deal, I think.
Yeah, well, because there has to be... You're the only one that's hitting it. You haven't got people... I mean, you may well have a physio or a doctor or whatever, or a guy who's helping you with your fitness, but you're the guy that's hitting it at the end of the day. So if you hit a poor shot, it's your fault. And I was always pretty hard on myself, which you would have thought I would have been a player that would have been the opposite, because I got more out of it than I ever thought I would. So you would think you would go easy on yourself because of that. But it was opposite for me. I ended up being even harder on myself than maybe I should have been. But don't get me wrong. I mean, I kind of was reasonably successful. I enjoyed it. I had a great time. I did things I never thought I would ever do. But I kind of wish I was a wee bit more smiley and laid back about the whole thing.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. I mean, I kind of knew the numbers, but I looked it up this morning just to be sure. 8 European Tour wins, including obviously the Open, 620 appearances. Where does that sit with you? Is that even par? Are you over par? Are you satisfied with that? I mean, to me, I think you underachieved slightly. I know that's a terrible phrase, but it's a compliment in this case. I mean, I would have expected you to have won more than that.
Well, I always try and answer that question where I feel as though I overachieved to get to where I got to the Open because I turned pro at 5 handicap and I was terrible. And then I feel as though I underachieved from there. Even though after the Open I played 2 Ryder Cups and I think I won 4 or 5 of my 8 after the Open. I do feel as though if you're capable of playing at that level and performing at that level and carrying yourself at that tournament and playing the golf I played, I underachieved after that. So that's the way I see it. Overall, obviously proud of it. I don't think it's a terrible career. I think we've probably done more off the course than I did on it, which is even greater, to be honest. But no, I mean, I'd have liked to have won more. I wasn't in contention an awful lot either, which was weird. I was good when I got there. I always felt as though I could play the golf and control myself and control my emotions, and I was good at winning when I had a chance, but I just didn't have that many chances. It's weird how, I felt as though I worked hard and I was a good player and did the right things and made sure I got the destructive shots out of my game, which I had early on with the hook that I had when I was younger, but never really had many chances to win. So overall, I don't think it's been bad, but I'd like to have won more.
Yeah. I want to take you back to the beginning. I mean, you were it seems to me, the ultimate little geek at the end of the range with a pile of balls alone, just hitting ball after ball after ball. And I know few people, I think, have worked harder than you did to get from where you were. You said 5 handicap at the beginning to get to where you did. I mean, that must have taken an incredible amount of work. And where did you find time for a social life? I mean, where the hell did you manage to come up with, meet Marion and get this wonderful wife and while you were standing at the end of a field with a pile of golf balls? I've often been intrigued by that.
Yeah, well, I didn't really have any choice about the work thing because I wasn't obviously blessed with natural talent. I think I pick up things pretty quickly and I change things pretty quickly. But I didn't have any choice. And the work ethic came from when I was at Bankery as a young assistant. I was chucked in at the deep end early on about a Beat the Pro kind of competition that Douglas Smart used to do.
He was your boss.
He was my boss, yeah. Great lad. Learned a lot from Douglas, both, as a business side, and it's kind of coming to fruition now with the stuff that we've got going. And I was chucked in there and I was terrible and I had a high score and there was only about 4 or 5 members that didn't beat me net. That's how bad my score was. And I thought, he pulled me in the back shop the next day and I actually thought I was going to get the sack because you're a young lad, you don't know what's going on, you don't know the world. And he was the opposite. He put his arm around me and he said, look, you can't have this happening. It's up to you. I'm not saying you can ever be a great tour player, but if you want to play at a decent level, you're going to have to work at your game. I've not seen you on the range in 3 weeks. You've been here. I'm not seeing you on the putting green. I'm not seeing you in the short game area. You've got to put some time in. And I thought, he's absolutely right. And then I thought, that'll never happen again. The way I played that day and everyone beating me, and you're talking about net. 83 I think I shot. I think it was 4 of the members that didn't beat me. So he gave out a pile of golf balls.
Right.
So he had a right to be upset, but it was opposite. He handled it unbelievably, brilliantly for me. And then I hit balls pretty much every morning. Every night I played golf with the boys afterwards for God knows how many years I was there. And it just became a part of what I did, and I quite enjoyed practicing. I still do. I was hitting balls this morning before you came in. I hit 100 balls down in my bay this morning. Still enjoy hitting balls. I don't see it as a job. I don't see that bit of it as the work bit of it. The travelling and the playing tournaments is the work bit. Practicing I quite enjoy, messing about. And Marion was just always just understood that was what it was, and that was how we made our living with my golf. If I wasn't practicing and putting the time in, there'd be no money coming in. She was always absolutely amazing with the kids and making sure the kids didn't, grip my leg and stuff when I wanted to go away at 6 o'clock to hit balls for 2 hours. It was just the way it was. She's always understood that's it. So lucky in a way that, she saw it the way that she had to see it. And she got it. She got it from day one.
I'm more intrigued by the beginning, though. I mean, you're sent to the end of the field with with a pile of balls. What direction did you go in, and how did you get better? Because were you just doing it by yourself? Was there anybody having a look at you? Or
well, Douglas used to give me a little bit of a hand now and again. He would pop down and kind of have a look at me and have a wee think of what I was doing. And I used to get lessons from Peter Smith when he was the pro at Mercer. I would go there even when I was assistant pro at Bankery. I would meet up with Peter and he would give me some tips and some bits and pieces. And I was always I was always good at the chipping. I was always good at the pitching. Even when I was a 5 handicap, I could pitch and chip the ball. And I was always a good putter. I always hold out very well. So I suppose in a way I was lucky that the work that I had to do, I didn't really have to maintain the other bit of it, which is the most important bit, because I had that already. I always had the short game bit of it. I don't know why. I just was good at that. I didn't work at that much.
It's not that the full swing's easy, but relatively speaking, that's the easiest, certainly for people at the level you were playing at or getting towards. Well, that's the easy part.
Now I'm involved in it more. It's harder to teach someone touch and feel than it is to, get the club in a certain position. That just takes time and effort and balls and a video camera. Whereas short game and touch is something that some people just have never got, and it's just how it is. It becomes part of your nervous system and, your nerves when you're over it. And some people are just always going to, yip a 4-footer. That's just how it is. You can't get out of them. So I was lucky in that way. And I just started hitting lots and lots and lots of balls, down at the range at Bankery, and they've now there's the old range that used to be at Bankery. It's now part of a golf hall when they redesigned it, and the hole's called Paul Lawrie. They've called it my name because I hit God knows how many balls down there, which is really cool. When you hear stuff like that, you think, wow, that's where I kind of did all my work, and all the members would see me down there, and they would all shout over and how you doing, and I hit. I would hate to think how many balls I hit down there, but a lot.
And how quickly did you get decent?
I got good pretty quick because like I say, I had the short game. And when you've got that, you've only got to get it reasonably close to the fairway to be able to play.
Yeah.
I won the first pro event I ever played, the Murray Seafoods at Buckpool, it was called. Shot 71, 1 under, only person under par. It was blowing a gale. And won the very first event that I played. So that was only about 9 weeks after I turned pro, I think.
They should have a plaque up as well then.
So, well, they should, yeah. And I was funny story. I went back there for an Alliance. The year I won the Open, I played in the Northeast Alliance there, and I had a 10 at the 10th and shot 3 under.
Right.
Shot 69 with a 10. And then people come up to me to this day and they say, you were playing in the Alliance the year they won the Open? But, yeah, it's a game of golf, isn't it? In the winter to keep yourself going.
Yeah.
People just don't quite see the...
Yeah. And obviously, for people listening to this, the kind of progression in Scotland is that you were on the Tartan Tour, as it's called, which is basically for club pros and aspiring tour pros, I think. Yeah. And you kind of worked your way up. I mean, did you start... You're one of those guys that sort of won at each level.
Yeah.
And then kept on going, rather than you went, boom, I got through the tour school, bung, I'm on the tour.
Yeah, that wasn't because I was clever and decided to do that. It was just that was the only route that was open to me at that time. I started off playing assistants. Doug let me play quite a few of them and managed to win the Scottish assistants and the Scottish under-25s. And he could see that obviously, there was a player in there. If you can do that, you can obviously play. And then he let me play a few more things because I was still working full-time in the shop when I was doing that. And then he let me play the full Tartan Tour season and I won the money list, that year. And then I went to tour school and got my card in 91. So I started off in the assistants, started winning there. And then I went to the full Tartan Tour, started winning there. And then went to tour school and got my card. And then that was me straight on tour. So I never ever played Challenge Tour full time. I kind of went straight from Tartan Tour to tour school to get a card. So there was a natural progression, and winning at every level is important because it doesn't matter the competition. Winning breeds winning. I mean, that's what it is. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm. Was there a kind of long-term target? Were you a target guy, or did you just sort of go along with the flow? Never
really been a target guy. I've had psychologists that I've worked with over the years, and they're all quite big on the writing things down and put it up on the wall so you can see it. I've never really been, I've never struggled with getting out of my bed and hitting balls in the morning. So if you're not a lazy person and you're someone that's working hard and trying the best you can try over every shot, writing a target down or a goal down is not going to make you do it even more. If you've got it, it's like Sir Alex Ferguson says, if it's in you, it's in you. There's nothing you can do about that. I was never lazy. I was never someone that had to get a boot up the backside when I was, lying in my bed too long in the morning. It was opposite. So I've never been a goal setter. I'll just try and play every shot as well as I can. And there's rounds of golf that you're not happy with and rounds of golf that they would like to take back. But you can't. How you play is how you play. So never been a goal setter, no.
And when you got on the tour, how did you think you compared at that point?
Well, I'd never really played much with anyone or at that level, much before. So the good thing was I wasn't really, I didn't have much. It's not as though I had a year and it didn't go very well and, oh my God, these guys are way better than I thought. I got off to a really, really good start. Stuart Spence from the Marcliffe and a few local business guys had all clubbed together to give Marion, because Marion gave up her job and she came with me because I didn't know any of the caddies or anybody.
And what did Marion do?
Marion was a dental nurse. She worked for Malcolm Tucker, one of the Bankery members. He's a member at Bankery, lives out in Bankery. We met there at the pro shop when he brought her around. So she was a dental nurse, so she gave up her job and came with me to caddy because we didn't know anybody. And I got off to a great start. I made quite a few cuts early on. We got a little bit of money up, and it was the old sort of, just keep going. There was no real fear about what I was doing. My short game was, absolutely mustard back then. I wasn't a great player, but man, if I missed the green, there's a fair chance I was getting up and down, and I hold out really, really well. And that's the thing I'm trying to pass on at the minute to all the guys that I'm helping in Scottish golf, and I'm enjoying that, the performance side of it. If you can hold out from 6 feet and in, you just keep your run going, no matter how poorly you play. If you can hold out well, it's the biggest thing that people don't
It's
practice.
absolutely amazing what you can get round in if you don't miss from inside 6 feet.
Yeah, if you can hold out well, you can shoot level par playing terrible. And a lot of guys just don't quite get that yet. But, we're working our way. We're getting there.
Yeah. At what point did you... the sadly late Adam Hunter, who you know very well and I knew well too, no longer with us, sadly. But what difference did he make, and at what point did he kick in to make that difference for you?
Well, we first met when I was assistant pro at Bankery. Adam used to sort of, any time he was on the tour and he missed the cut, he would come home and play the pro-ams at the weekend. That's how it was done back in the day, because the Tartan Tour was mega strong back then. There was over 100 pro-ams a year, and Adam would sort of supplement his income by coming home and most of the time winning a pro-am, either the Saturday or the Sunday. And he'd missed the cut, and I don't know where it was, and the Bankery pro-am was on, and he kind of rolled up, in his white sponsored Escort XR3i with his name on the side, jumped out the car with the big fancy trousers and the pro bag, the white pro bag, came in the shop, and I kind of and then I got to know him a little bit when I started playing a bit more. Spent a bit of time with him, Stevie McAllister, Ross Drummond, Mike Miller, guys like that. Got quite pally with them when they played pro-ams and I played pro-ams. And then when I got on tour, he kind of took me under his wing a wee bit and sort of helped me, and we roomed a little bit and kind of bits and pieces when Marion didn't come out. And it just went from there, really. And he became my coach in 98, the end of 98. He had lost his card. And the way that Adam used to do it back then, he didn't have any sponsors. He would just take a bank loan out, and he would use the money of the bank loan for his expenses for the year, and he would pay it back as he played. You don't hear of things like that anymore. But
I've never heard that before.
When you're talking about sort of late 80s, early 90s, he didn't have any sponsors, so that's how he did it. He took a bank loan out and then paid the money back. And then he lost his card in 98, decided he wasn't going to go to school, and that he'd been working with Ledbetter, as I had. And he felt as though he'd picked up enough stuff, from him that he could kind of be a coach. And he wrote me a letter asking what I was doing, and I didn't have a coach at the time. And we decided to hook up as player and coach. And man, he was amazing for me. I've said many times, I'll never get fed up of saying it. He was the difference for me. I was a good player before he became my coach, but he's just the difference for me. He kind of brought a whole level of professionalism to it, and practice, and the way you go about it, and the way you do it, and you do your work and you rest, and it was all sort of I was a kind of boy that I would hit thousands of balls a week, but there was no structure to it or routine to it. I mean, I got there because I worked hard, but he put a structure in it, and it was set numbers of balls with certain clubs, and then you go and do another club and you come back, and He worked out that my attention span was 20 minutes, so he didn't let me hit any...
Is it that long, really?
Yeah. Well, it used to be, but it's shortened. It's gotten a lot shorter. But so he would let me hit one club for 20 minutes, and then I had to go and do something else. Yeah. So working on all aspects of the game. I'd never heard of that before. I'd never seen that before. Now, I'm sure it was about, and, he might not have been the first to do it, but he was amazing for me. Did a great job. Great job.
And don't get too deep into the technical aspect of it, but what was the difference?
The difference was that I was always
what could you do
someone,
after that you couldn't do before?
I was always someone who had a nasty snap hook in my bag. I used to get the club way behind me, coming down, and then I would wrap the hands at it, which back in the day was how everyone played, with the persimmon woods and whatever, and the steel shafts. And I really struggled with that, and I hit the ball very low because of that, because obviously when you do that, you're smothered in the loft, and you're not got enough loft at impact. So he kind of got that out of my game, and we practiced for, God knows how long, of kind of getting the ball in the neck of the club at address. And I had to go, heel to middle, as opposed to when you're hooking it, you're going toe to middle. The toes hitting.
And you still do that, don't you?
Still do that. Yeah, ball in the neck. It's my favourite drill. Whenever I'm going a little bit right to left, an hour of ball in the neck just sorts me out. I just start hitting this little fade. And he was the one that said, listen, he was always, if you were hooking it, we practiced slicing it, and then it would be in the middle when you played. So you've always got to, that was always his big thing. So if you're duffing chips, I want you thinning it for 10 minutes, and then you'll find the bottom of the ball again, as opposed to, and little things like that. Even now, when I'm practicing, things pop into my head about, right, what would he have me do here, right? What he would have me do.
It seems like it's all about finding the middle ground all the time.
Absolutely,
isn't it?
It's what it's about. It doesn't matter how good a player you are. If you're doing something really, really poorly, you need to do the opposite for half an hour to 40 minutes, and hopefully it'll go straight again. That was his philosophy. Always worked for me. And the rhythm thing came from him, when I worked on rhythm more than I worked on kind of hitting it and getting the club to speed up as I swung, as opposed to, I used to get the club very quick off the ball, and then that's when it went behind me, because it slowed down and the weight of the club dropped, as opposed to slower away and quicker in, made the club was out front more. He was the first person that ever kind of put that onto me. And again, I use that rhythm drill where I go up and I pause and I hit it. I still do it today. I hit about 30 balls this morning doing that. And when I get that drill right, and when I get my rhythm right, I kind of hit it a little straighter. And that's all you're trying to do. You're not trying to be the best player in the world. You're just trying to get it within 5 yards of where you're aiming. If you can do that, you'll win tournaments. It's as simple as that. And that's how he taught. That's how he taught. He didn't... There was a little bit of technical stuff in it, and sometimes he got a little carried away, like all coaches do, but most of the time, he was amazing.
Callaway's new and improved Chrome Soft family of golf balls is better for everyone, from amateurs to major winners like John Rahm, Phil Mickelson and Annika Sorenstam. Now with Callaway's proprietary new precision technology, the Chrome Soft family delivers Callaway's highest quality, best performing and most consistent golf balls. To learn more about precision technology and the new and improved Chrome Soft X and Chrome Soft XLS, visit callawaygolf.com.au.
Obviously, we're going to talk about the Open. It's the first thing that everybody thinks of when they say, if you say the words Paul Lawrie to anybody, that's what first comes to mind. But the Open that you won wasn't the first time that you'd done well. I actually, this will make you smile, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I stood behind you in the queue to check in to a flight. It must have been just after the 93 Open. I think you were maybe going to Holland. Would it be Holland the week after? Yeah. And I was standing right behind you I think I was going somewhere else, but you were, I can't remember where I was going, but
93 that
93 Open. And I remember thinking, he'd hold that 2-iron or whatever it was that you hold at 17th.
Yeah.
But obviously your game was a bit different then. I mean, more suited to links golf, would you say, at that point?
Well, I hit the ball quite low back then, and it was always a struggle if I had to hit it up in the air over a tree or whatever, because I lived in Aberdeen, and obviously there's a bit of wind up here, as you can imagine. So not many people hit it really high from here, because you've got to keep it down. It's easier to keep the ball in play when it's down. So I kind of hit it quite low. So any linksy sort of golf or linksy, I was in there. I was kind of had a wee bit of a chance, and I used to hit it miles into the wind because I had this low. The ball was quite far back in my stance, and with the driver, I had a little bit of loft on it, and I used to trap it, and I used to come out real low and used to play with people and couldn't believe how far I hit it into the wind with a lofted driver. But that's just how I played back then. So that was 1993. Sixth, I think I finished. Norman won that year.
Yeah, T6 I've got.
T6, yeah. Mm-hmm. Ernie Els and Nick Price were the same score, I think I remember.
Right.
So, a long time ago. But yeah, that way, and I was in a bad run that year. I'd played poorly at the start of the year. I'd missed God knows how many cuts in a row, 6 or 7 maybe, and I was really struggling. And then boom, you finished 6th in the Open, and it was £33,000, which, sixth right now, you probably get about $250,000 or
that was a
something.
lot of money for you.
It was a huge amount of money, yeah. So that was really a great week and a big event. So that was my first top 10 at anything that was kind of proper for the Open.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how was the career going generally at that point? But it seems to me that you were kind of treading water a bit. Is that fair to say, or is that a wee bit harsh?
No, I think that's fair to say. I think I'd had a pretty good first year. 92 was my first full year. I think I finished 80 odd or 50 odd in the order of merit. I either finished 80 odd with 50 grand or 50 odd with 80 grand. I can't remember. One of the two. But it was, for the first year, I was happy with that. I kept my card as your only goal with your first year. Yeah. And then I struggled coming out in 93, didn't play very well. Was if I remember, changing a couple of things and trying to hit it a bit higher. And whenever you try to change bits and pieces and you try and play and you haven't given it enough time, it's really difficult to make changes when you're trying to play golf as well. And then, luckily, the Open, it was a wee bit breezy, and I managed to kind of go back to my old, kind of get the ball back, because that's what you've got to do in the wind, and I just felt more comfortable that year. But no, it was a bit of a surprise, I think, to everybody. But nice. I mean, 33 grand back then was a lot of money.
Right, inevitably we're going to talk about Carnoustie. It's been done to death. I mean, you must have talked about this a million times, I know, but I always smile when I think of it, because you probably don't remember this again, but I remember standing at a crosswalk, and we were stopped because there was a player coming past in a buggy, and it was you, right? And you had to stop as well for whatever reason. And I remember we chatted very briefly, and I wish you good luck about, making the top 10 or getting in the Ryder Cup
What
team.
day was that?
That was just
Sunday.
before the last round.
Oh, right, okay, right.
And I think the Ryder Cup was more in your mind at that point, judging by what you said.
It was the World Cup that I was on about, because Coulthard was in the last automatic place for the World Cup team, two-man team. It was going to be Monty and Andrew. And then the Open was the last qualifying event for it. And then I kind of talked about it all week to my caddy. It's weird how, you kind of... And it's a little bit... I was working with Dr. Richard Cox at that time, psychologist, and he was always big on deflecting and talk about things to take your mind away from what's actually really happening. And so he was on about... He kept talking about this World Cup, and I didn't quite at the time get what he was on about, but all he was doing was planting a seed that World Cup's more important than... The Open's more important than the World Cup, but let's make it all about the World Cup and take your mind off it. Yeah. So again, very clever. Mm-hmm. And again, my work with him was more just chatting, but he always managed to say things that get things in the conversation without me actually knowing what he was talking about. Yeah. And that's what I love the best about these guys. Adam was the same with the coach, and he would just say something and you would think, right, what's he mean by that? Right, what he means is this. Then you had to work it out a wee bit. Yeah. So that was where the World Cup thing came from, with Richard Cox. He was on about, right, let's chuck about that.
But it's safe to say that, when we did bump into each other there, that you weren't thinking about winning the Open at that stage.
No. Well, I teed off 13th. I think I teed off position and 10 shots behind. And also in the back of my mind, I knew that a game in the Masters wasn't out of the equation, because top 4 get in the Masters. So really, my goal for the day was to get in the World Cup team and to, if I could, and it was a bit of a dream, to get top 4 for the Masters. That was the two things that I was kind of thinking about. Because I'm not a goal person, but I quite like things to kind of aim at a wee bit. Like when you start the week, I used to say a lot to the caddy, right, what's the winning score this week? And he gave me a figure in my head the whole time. That figure's in my back of my mind thinking, right, I need to get to 15. So if that's 8 under the first 2 days and 7 under the last 2 days, and I'm 3 over after 2, right, a bit of work to do. And it just focuses your mind a wee bit. A few of the guys do that. Poulter does it quite a lot.
Nicholas did that as well.
Yeah, winning score, right? Yeah. What do I need to get this week? What's the target?
Yeah.
So that was what it was about. But I teed off in 13th place. No intention or thoughts about winning the Open. And fair enough, you've got 10 shots and you've got 12 guys. It's quite a big mountain to try and climb. Which we did.
And I believe it or not, I actually defend you on this a bit. When people talk about the Open, everybody, of course, focuses on what happened at the end with Velde. But I always think it's a wee bit unfair given just how bloody well you played that day. I mean, 67, that was a hell of a score.
Yeah. I mean, as you know, I used to get quite angry about the way that people saw it. And but then the more and more time's gone on, I've kind of mellowed quite a bit through it, and now you understand that people are entitled to their opinion about it. But at the end of the day, right, you can never ever take away the facts are the facts, right? There's only one person that goes on the trophy, the name, right? And that's mine that's on there. And I understand that might come over a bit thingy to some people, but that is the way that it is. Whether you want to say it any other way, did I get lucky? Yeah. Should my name be on there? Maybe not. But it is the end story. Yeah. And I shot 4 under last day, best score by anyone, played the best in the playoff by a mile. And the biggest thing that I'm most proud of isn't the fact that I won, the fact that I did what I had to do to win. Two other players didn't do that. They didn't do very well when they had a chance to do it. Or plenty of people get opportunities to win majors, and you've got to do the right thing at the right time and be in control of your emotions to win something that big. And I was in total control of what I was doing because of the work that I'd done with Richard Cox and Adam Hunter. And I don't think these guys get enough, praise, and it's disrespectful to them when people say, "Oh, he should never have been on the Open. He got lucky." Wow, you're disrespecting these two guys too, because the work they put in for me to get me to that point. Now, I had to take it through, and I had to be the one that made sure it happened, but the work they did was amazing to get me to that point.
Yeah. I mean, and of course, the ultimate point is, of course, that the last time I looked, every tournament is 72 holes.
I came out with that. I don't remember.
It's a bit glib, I know.
Where I read that first, and I thought, I'm going to use that. As far as I know, tournaments are 72, not 71. And then I thought, does that sound a bit, I'm not sure. And then I thought, right, I'll tell you what. And Adam used to get really angry with me when I would be upset about it, or I would be talking about it, and he'd go, "Listen, let's just get on with it," right? And he never had to speak to me a lot in a way that he would have not wanted to, but he wasn't scared of doing it. He wasn't scared of telling me what he thought, and that's why I respected him the way I did. A couple of times he gave me dressing downs where you're behaving like an idiot, you're behaving like a you-know-what. Stop doing that, right? This is not what you are. And
which is not what tour pros hear very often.
No, he was brilliant at that. He didn't have to do it very often, to be fair to me, but he had to do it a couple of times. And that was one of the times where he got to a point where he said, "Listen, this is going to be the end of you if you keep going on the way you're going on, right? Your name's on the trophy. You did win. I don't want to hear you talk about it anymore in my company. I've had enough of it," he said. And I was like, wow, he's quite upset. For him to come out with something like that, he was pretty upset, I think, at the time, because he could see that I wasn't fulfilling what I should have been fulfilling as a player by going on, and I was on about it all the time. And I was on about the lack of press, and I was on about all I ever see is Van der Velde up to his knees in the water in magazines. And he said, that's what they're gonna do. That's their job, these people.
Look, it was
Paul,
a great
you need
story.
to get on with it.
It was
Of course it was.
Yeah.
And then when he gave me that talking to, and I'm like, wow, he's pretty upset for him to come out with that. Right, that's me. Line in the sand. I'll get on with it.
Yeah.
I won, and that's it.
But you actually did make yourself ill. I mean,
I did, yeah.
Full disclosure.
Yeah.
I mean, I was the guy that helped you write your book, and you told me about, you were actually, it was a kind of form of depression.
Yeah, that's where, because there was only sort of 2 or 3 people that knew that Adam obviously knew, and Colin Fraser, a good pal of mine, and Marion and I, and the doctor. And I was on some tablets. I couldn't get off the couch for about 6 months. I was always somebody that no matter how busy I was, or coming home on a Sunday night from a hard tournament on a long flight, and if the kids wanted to play golf at Deeside for 9 holes, I would take them out. I would never say no, because it's not their fault that I'm away playing. And I wouldn't even do that. I wouldn't go out and play with them. And I got some tablets. First lot didn't do much good. Second lot sorted me out. And to this day, touch wood, I've never felt like that again. So I only had about 6 months of it. But it was tough. And that was when he kind of, I don't remember if he drove up or whether we were at the next tournament, and he said, "Listen, this has got to stop.
Can you
It's making
describe
you
what
ill."
that was like?
You've no go about you. You get up in the morning, you go straight downstairs, you don't get dressed, you lie on the couch, you put the telly on, and you don't move. You don't move all day apart from go for a pee, and you come back. It's like watching the Ryder Cup, but not in a good, because Ryder Cup you don't move and you only go to the toilet. It's like that, but just you're not feeling very good. And no matter what Marion said or how, you just couldn't get off the couch and just didn't want to do anything. All I kind of felt was negative stuff about the Open, and nobody's given me any thingy for it, and felt a bit sorry for myself, and then just boom, you just one day you wake up and you go, right, I'm not doing this. I'm just boom on the couch.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah. Oh,
Never felt like that again, though. So hopefully it was just that, and that's it.
Yeah. In the midst of all that, I mean, we're going to touch on your relationship with America, such as it was. The pronunciation of your name was one of the things. I mean, you must roll your eyes and shake your head now when Shane Lowry's out there, and they pronounce Lowry as Lowry.
No.
Why are they not saying Laurie for Lowry instead of when they said Lowry for Laurie?
I think where it all came from, and I don't want to go too much on because I've America, but
it's not a big deal. But yeah.
the boy Steve Lowry was a player back in my day and won a couple of events, and I think Americans being Americans thought I was him. Really? Well, I can only think
he was
of
a bit bigger than you.
Well, I was a lot bigger than me at that time. But anyway, so I used to get quite angry with spectators out there to the point where I just didn't want to go and I didn't want to play, and I had to get talked into playing a few events. At the point where even the Masters, I had to be spoken into playing there one year because I didn't want to go that badly. Which is amazing because I love that place and what it's about and whatever, and who would not want to play in the Masters? But it just got under my skin. It really did. And I used to shout at spectators, "Spell law for me," and they would go LAW, right, and I'd walk away, and they'd be standing there, and you'd go, well, "What's he asked me that for? You just called me Lowry. LOW is Lowry." And honestly, I know people are listening to this and going, why was he so upset about that? But just every now and again, if you're honest with yourself, things just get under your skin, even when it's not that important. You'll start shouting at somebody when you really should. It doesn't matter what that person thinks. So that was the situation I got in there. And all the galleries would shout it and all that. And I don't think any of them actually were doing it to be audible, or I don't know. I
think it's just ignorance.
Because I wasn't that good a player either. Yeah. It wasn't as though I was someone that was a threat to my record in America is terrible.
Yeah, you weren't getting the abuse that Monty was getting.
No, absolutely not. And he was getting abuse because he was a proper player and because he was a threat. And certainly played with him in '99 Ryder Cup, and he was our best player. So that's why he was getting it. I wasn't getting it because I was a great player. I was just, I don't know, they just didn't quite see the A. I don't know. But I must admit, it used to bug me quite a bit.
Yeah, it happens all the time. I mean, you and I have both got sons called Craig, but Americans do not pronounce that as Craig. It's Craig, which is a mystery to me, but that's the way it is.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that are a wee bit of a mystery over there. And I would be surprised if I would be back. I'm not gonna. I don't need to go over there anymore. I don't enjoy when I go there. I don't hate it. It's not like that. It's just I just don't. It's not my. I'm busy. I've got some stuff. We manage some players. I'm going to play the Legends Tour. I've no intention. The Champions Tour don't look after people who have won enough to get an exemption. If you're American, you get in. And if you're not, you have to be on the ultra-merit. And I'm not going to be on the all-time money.
Michael Campbell and yourself have both been pretty much shafted.
Yeah. Apart from Houston, Insperity in Houston and the Regions event, it's the only invites I've had in 3 years of being a senior. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to go over there at all. I'm not into it. I don't need to. I'm going to play the Legends Tour. I'm busy here. I don't enjoy it really when I go, so I'm just going to stay here.
What came first then? I mean, I'm looking at your... I sort of popped out your top finishes in the 3 American majors, and
there's not many top ones I would imagine there.
I mean, it's not that impressive, I have to tell you.
Thanks.
It's T30 was your best in the US Open, T34 the best in the PGA, and your T15 in the Masters. I remember you did quite well in the Masters that one year. But what came first then? Is it the poor record there, or was it the attitude caused the poor record, or did the poor record cause the attitude?
I think attitude probably came first. And also, 2 of the courses of the 3 were set up that I didn't enjoy golf that way. They were all set up with big, tall rough, narrow fairways, level par was a good score. That's not me. That's not the way I play. I'm going to be in there when scoring's low and scoring's good because my short game's mustard and there's no rough. I can get it on the green. Whereas I'm not ever going to be a player that if you put 7-yard wide fairways and rough up to your knees, I'm going to get it round. So 2 of the 3, I think they're actually good finishes for me, considering the way that I play.
Okay.
So I see that as a positive, not as a negative.
Right.
But the Masters was a little bit of a surprise, even though it's the best finish of them all. I kind of always felt comfortable round there. I've got really good touch and really good feel. I always putt well on really quick greens because my stroke is quite long and slow. So it doesn't suit slow greens because you've got to pop it on a slow green and hit it. I've never been that player. I've always been long and slow. And I had the putting record one year at the Masters, which is gone now. But so I was surprised that 15th was... I thought I'd have done better than that round there. But, I mean, it is what it is. My play over there... I noticed that they put up some results the other day, and the Tournament of Champions that was just finished yesterday, I finished 8th. And that the first time I played. Right. I remember having a good week there, but again, it was windy in Hawaii. So again,
and it's that kind of course as well. There's no rough there either.
No, so it suited me around there. But any course that was set up mega tough back then, I struggled. Whereas now, I probably drive the ball could be the best bit of my game at the minute. I kind of drive the ball very, very well now. If I drove it then like I do now, I would have been able to compete, but I couldn't get it around these courses.
You probably knew I was going to ask you about this, or at least touch on this subject. I mean, how do you feel about the way that the game is played at the top level these days, compared with certainly? I mean, you're old enough to remember, as you touched on earlier, the persimmon and steel shafts and all the rest of it.
Yeah, well, I don't think
it's
better.
Better? Is it different? What is it?
Well, it's certainly different. I mean, you're now, if you're a coach of a player now, you're coaching speed, you're coaching height. You're not coaching feel or touch or shaping the ball, right? That's just how it is. And as the game has gone on and technology's taken a hold and the golf ball's gone further and it's moved less in the air, that's what the game is. But unfortunately, it's not just golf. I mean, I was on, TalkSport was on this morning, they're talking about how football has gone a little bit the same way, where you used to have a player playing number 10 position and he was a field player and a touch player, and that guy's got to go up and down the pitch now. He's got to be a box-to-box. You can't be just a guy who doesn't do much.
Yeah, and there's nobody playing tennis like John McEnroe anymore.
Everyone's got thingy rackets and, so it's not just golf, it's just the way that it tends to be going. Technology is the same. Technology goes on without sort of standing still. So I don't suppose you're going to do much about it, but you're probably going to have to get to a point at some point in time where you have to slow it down at some point.
Well, where are they going to play 10 years from now? Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to see the old course and how it plays this year. It'd be really interesting to see, because if it's flat cam, it's going to be silly, I would say. And I had an interesting chat with somebody just the other day about some of the greens that Bryson's going to be able to hit. And he can carry the ditch at the first if he wants to.
Yeah.
And pitch it back from the rough at the back of the green. He can get it on the second. He can get iron on the third. He'll not be far off the fourth. He'll be hitting wedge at the fifth. You can get on the green at 6, on the green at 7, iron at 9, iron at 10, iron at 12. They're all par 4s. So very quickly you're going to get to a point where, is that right?
I mean, I think somebody's going to break 60 if it's calm.
Oh, easy. Yeah, I think there'll be more than one. If it's flat cam, I'd be amazed if somebody didn't go down in 58, 59. But let's hope it's a wee bit of wind.
Is that good? I mean, does it matter?
I think in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it does matter, because everyone's just got to play what's in front of them, because there's still going to be some weeks where level par is going to be a hell of an effort, and some weeks, well, what was it yesterday? Was it 34 under the shot in Hawaii with no wind? I mean, that's obscene, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Well, it is. I mean, I don't really care about the winning scores. It's not the scores that offends me. It's the way that they play the holes.
Yeah.
They're not playing the holes the way they're designed to be played. I mean, they're just blasting away. I mean, that's not golf in my mind. But
But there's just more of them now. There's always been players who have been able to do that. Nicholas did that in his day.
Yeah, but he was still. He wasn't driving the greens.
No. Whereas now there's just more of them, and it seems to be an unbelievable amount of them now who can carry it 325, 330 without even trying to, and be a player. It used to only be the long driving guys that could do that. Now these guys are top 10 in the world and doing it. So it's not going the way that I was brought up, and it's not going the way that I was always taught that you work on rhythm and not speed, and you get it to go a distance when your swing's, at its best, whereas nowadays it's opposite. There's no rhythm involved in it. It's just brute force. Yeah. Jumping out the way of it with your left leg to create more speed on the way down. You see Bryson, his left leg, he's out of the way of it completely now when he's hitting it. And his driving par fives at Bay Hill, I thought that was exciting, to be honest.
I watched it too.
I never thought I would have liked that, but I did.
I was intrigued.
I thought it was cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the rest of it I don't think's cool. I think they need to get a hold of it a wee bit. But when you see a guy on a tee and him and the caddy are working out whether he can carry it 400 it is pretty different. Yeah. But I'm not so sure it's the way that I'd like all golf to be.
And maybe the tipping point is the 59 at the old course. Maybe the anarchist in me kind of hopes that'll happen and that'll provoke some action.
Yeah, but I would imagine I'm going to play, so I can't wait to see how they set up the course, because they must have that in their mind. They must have in their mind that if it doesn't blow around here, it's going to be silly. So they're going to have to tuck the pins, and you're going to see some pins, I think, this summer that you've never seen before around here. They're going to have to.
Well, plus I've been up there and had a look, and there's more long grass on the old course right now than there's ever been. Right. And I'm offended by that as well. The principal's nose on the 16th, the rough left of that is pretty close to the bunkers now.
Oh, wow, you could always nick it down there.
Aye, exactly. So now they've kind of...
I can't do that anymore.
They're eliminating shots. Right. No. Exactly. You're going to stand on that tee thinking, what the hell am I going to do here?
Going to be hitting 5 iron, 3 wood.
Well, that's what they want you to do, I think. Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not. I don't see it as much of an issue, I think, as you do and a few other guys do. But it is definitely becoming silly a wee bit.
Yeah. Anyway,
the boy Cammy Smith who won in Hawaii, he's not that long. No, he's not a cruncher. So for him to shoot 30, he's not short. I'm sure.
Nobody's short anymore,
Paul.
Yeah.
But he's not a Mickelson or a DeChambeau through the.
But there's only certain courses where he's really competitive. It was a fantastic performance, as you just said. But the bottom line with him, and he's really good. I think. I'm a kind of fan of his, but he's still only won one full field event on the PGA Tour.
Has he really?
He's got 4 wins, but 2 of them are team. He's won the team thing twice. Okay. He's now won in Hawaii, which is a short field, obviously, and 1 full field event. So he has to pick and choose, I'll bet.
I don't know him at all. I've never met him, but I like the way he comes over. There was a really good program on him just recently. They went to his house and they kind of went around his house and he was talking about his cars. And
he's here.
And he's here. Yeah, he just seems a bit different, doesn't he? He seems quite a cool...
Well, I'm just jealous of the hair, obviously.
Yeah, I don't know him. Yeah. Well, you would be. You'd be jealous of anyone's hair.
Well, I don't know. You're catching up.
But he comes over quite well, I think. But great performance. 34 under round air, even though no wind. Aye. It's not that easy. There's holes you've got to,
You were preferred lies the first couple of days as well, mind. But,
well.
Yeah.
Well,
34 under was on. Well. No problem.
Say no more. He should have been 36.
Aye, I know. Right. Anyway, I'm going to change gears here. I want to talk to you about the Ryder Cup.
Right.
You've played in 2. Uh-huh. It'll be fine. Open it if you want. Paul Laurie's about to open a bottle of Coke, everybody. So, 2, both in America. I think my theory is that the European players, when they play Ryder Cups in America, they downplay the influence of the crowd because there's no future in that. And people are now starting to think that it's not as bad as it probably is. What's your feeling on that, having looked at it? You've played in 2. You played with Monty in 99 at Brookline, where I walked around with him a couple of times and it was horrific. It's a slightly self-inflicted with Monty, as we know a little bit, but not to the extent that he was getting the 4-letter word of abuse that he did get. What's been your experience of that? And is it as bad as I think it is? And is it downplayed for necessary reasons because it would just get worse if he didn't?
I think first of all, Horrific would cover it. Horrific's pretty close. It's not the best at times. I think it's downplayed a wee bit. And understand why that's downplayed a wee bit. The thing that I don't quite get, and it seems to happen at every Ryder Cup in America, we always feel as though we should try and get the crowd on side in practice rounds and try and... That's not going to make any difference. They're not going to be nicer to you because you're being nice to them on Monday to Thursday. So I don't get why we waste our time, first of all. But I'm not the captain, so I don't know And that happened when I played. They were always on about, right, be nice, sign things in practice rounds, make sure if anyone asks you to do something, make sure and do it. And you're thinking, what? It's not going to stop some guy shouting abuse at me on a Friday morning and calling me for everything because he thinks that's putting me off. And it does go overboard. I've played in two, and both of them, probably Brooklyn was worse than Medina. Medina was a little better, I would have thought, because at that time, a lot of our players play over there and stay over there a bit more than they did in 99. But 99 at Brooklyn, when I played with Monty, some of the stuff that they shouted at him, I know that and everyone else knows that Monty and I are not best of mates. We don't hate each other. But I actually felt sorry for him a wee bit in 99, which I never thought I would ever be. Bless him.
Well, I did too.
Great player as he is. Some of the stuff, it's just not right. And whenever, not all the time, but sometimes when we're playing foursomes and I missed the fairway, which was a regular occurrence, he had to do his yardage on the fairway with the caddy and then go in, hit the ball and come out because he couldn't stand in there and do his yardage. He was getting so much abuse. Now, that's not right. There's a way of... And I understand that the fans at the Ryder Cup are more of a have a beer and shouting ball and not golfers crowd. It's a football crowd. I get that. I get that totally. But then you've got American players this last time on the tee swigging beer and stuff and getting them going. And come on. You can't see Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer ever doing that. Get a grip of yourself. Yeah. So they're not helping either, the American players, by downplaying it. And you get a few American players who come out and say, oh, it's the same for us in Europe. I've been at a couple of Ryder Cups in Europe. I've never ever heard anyone shouting at an American player the way they shout at us.
Just isn't true.
I haven't.
Yeah. There have been moments where there's things that
I'm sure.
you wish wouldn't happen, but they're just
not
moments.
At the level
nothing like
that we get when we go there. But anyway, it is what it is. But it almost makes it like Medina. When you win, the satisfaction level is way higher because of the way they are. And that place just emptied when we won. That I'm sure you remember.
Yeah.
I was on the fairway, 18th fairway, with the captain and Ian Poulter and Justin Rose and Marion was there. And when Molinari, Tiger gave that putt to Molinari, honestly, the place, you just turn around and they just went...
Yeah, well,
emptied.
I came out of the media centre. I watched it because it was easier to watch on telly to watch the end. Then I came out to go and talk to folk, and I was the only one going in that direction. There was thousands of them heading out.
They let Europeans into the closing ceremony because there was no Americans there to go. And fair enough. You're all trying to win and you're all trying to... But, I'm not coming on this and slagging them to death for that. But it is, at times, it is way over the top. And it is horrific at certain situations. And I don't think it should be like that. I think they're entitled to shout for their own team and clap for their own team. But when you start trying to put players off and start trying to influence, I don't think that's the way that the game should have been played. And I'm sure, like I said, Mr. Nicklaus and these boys would never have stood for any of the stuff that some of the players themselves do at the moment, because it's gone a wee bit too much too.
Yeah. Your two Ryder Cups were really at both at opposite ends of the scale. One where Europe were winning by a good bit and lost, and the other, the second one where you were getting well gubbed after 2 days and then won.
Yeah.
Can you contrast the two?
Well, in 99 we were 10-6 ahead, playing the singles and lost, and then 2012 we were 10-6 behind and won, playing the singles. So 99 was the year where 3 of our players didn't play at all until the singles, and I don't think that'll ever happen again because I don't see how you can expect a player to not have played at all in the heat of the battle and then turn up on a singles and try and win. Unless your guy has a terrible day, you're not gonna be able to beat somebody who's been playing all week. So I understand why Mark James did it, because the players were all playing well and he didn't want to stop what was going on, and we were getting more. But at some point in time, those players that are playing all the time are going to be a little tired, even though I wasn't tired. It's the furthest thing. I was up for everything.
For me, I don't know whether you agree with this or not. I think Mark James made his mistake before he even got there by not picking Langer. I think Langer was the extra body that would have played once a day and would have made the difference. Perhaps.
I think I've not been a captain, as neither of you, so it's quite difficult, I suppose, to. And everybody's going to be able to say, well, it should have been this and it should have been that.
Yeah, with hindsight, it's easy.
With hindsight, it was a strange one.
Yeah.
And I I don't know, but I assume he picked Coulthard to play with Monty foursomes and me four balls because I wasn't the best driver of the ball back then. And then we got there, and that's not the way it happened. I played with Monty both foursomes and four balls, and Andrew didn't play at all till the singles. Which, I mean, I've said before, I don't think that's right. I think nowadays they try and get everyone playing the first day. No matter how you're playing, just to give you a taste of it. So at least you've got a chance. If you're not playing again to the singles, you've at least played. So that was difficult. And then obviously the way it ended in 99 with the crowd and the players and the way that the whole, they obviously hadn't won for a wee while, and it was almost a little bit of win at all costs. And I think we've gone through all that, God knows how many times. Yeah. They were out of order, the behaviour was poor, but it was what it was, and then 2012 was just, well, for me, I was playing really well coming into it. I'd won Johnny Walker at Gleneagles. It was the best.
Put me to sleep.
Tee to green I'd ever played in my whole career.
I'm saying you put me to sleep winning at Gleneagles.
Yeah. I never played anywhere near as good as that.
You're not picking up on that.
What's that?
You don't remember your press conference?
Press conference, the start of the week.
Yeah.
That's right. I had a press conference and you were the only one that was sleeping at the back, and we managed to nudge you awake. Yes. But that was the week that I the best I ever played, tee to green, in a tournament my whole career on the main tour, and putted terrible and won by quite a few. So I was playing good going in there, but putting poorly. I was struggling with the putter. And then I played the first afternoon with Colsarts, and we both played really... No, I played the first afternoon with Peter Hansen. Yeah. Sorry. And I played well, and Peter struggled a wee bit. I was about 4 under on my own ball, and Peter was over par. And we got beat handsomely. The guys had a Ryder Cup record at the time for 4 balls. They were, 13 under for 15 holes or something, the two of them. So that was tough when you play decent and you still, get beat. And then Colsarts and I were inside, Dustin Johnson and Matt Kuchar, 13 of the 18 holes in regulation, and lost. One down, both putted poorly after him holing all those putts the day before. So that was tough because I knew I was playing well. And then singles, I just played lovely and holed a few putts. I got a putting lesson from Darren Clark. I've never been a player that ever accepts tips or stuff from people. I've always been pretty good at I've got my coach, and if he tells me what to do, I'll do it. I don't take thingies from anyone else. But then I was really struggling. And I was out in the putting green, and they were trying to talk about the singles in the locker room, but I was keen to get someone with a putter. So he kind of shouted me in, Darren, and then he said, you need to come in. And so anyway, he came over to say, what's going on? I said, I'm really struggling. I can't find anything. Let me have a look. And he said, your stroke's always been quite long and a wee bit of decel, but you've just got a wee bit too much of decel going in there. You need to shorten it a little bit and just get a little bit of acceleration through it. Not a lot, just a little.
I can remember telling you that as well. You never listened to me.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Sam gave me that lesson too, so you're in good company, by the way.
There you go.
And every now and again, I just need to shorten it slightly, not a lot, and just get a little bit of hit in it. And then for the next, I went in and we had a chat about the singles and whatever, and they were there and whatever, and Jose was asking players, what do you want to do and where do you want to play and whatever.
He paid you a bit of a compliment with
Well, Clarkey put me in it a wee bit. It was Clarkey that said, Chippy needs to be high up the order. I was like, wait a minute. I'm parting like a dog, and then he said, "What do you?" I said, "Yeah, definitely." I said, "No problem. Put me wherever you feel as though I'll win tomorrow." Yeah. And you say it, and you think, "Oh my God, it's a wee bit of the postman."
I know.
I will deliver. So as soon as the meeting was finished, I went straight back out in the putting green till it was dark, and I kind of worked on shortening my stroke. And I said to Davey, "We're going to win tomorrow. I know exactly what I need to do with the putt." Davey, the caddy, before I went home. No matter how well he plays tomorrow, we're taking him down. And I don't speak like that. I'm not that kind of person. I'm very much, I keep things inside. I've got a bit of self-belief in myself, but I'm not outwardly with it. I'm not that kind of way. I'm not a boxer who kind of wants the world to know how good he is and then he gets battered in the ring. But I just felt, I'm playing really good. I'm swinging it lovely. If I can hold anything, I'm going to win.
Yeah, you're playing a guy who just won the FedEx Cup, by the way.
Yeah. And I was, 6 under for 15 holes.
Again, that went under the radar a bit. Yeah. You had the best figures that day of anybody on your team.
Yeah. Didn't put a foot wrong. Didn't hit a shot off line. Putted lovely. Rolled it well. Felt in control. There was no point that I think I wasn't going to win at any point, no matter where we were. It was nice.
I think people all want to know what the after what Poulter did on the Saturday night, which was epic. It's been done to death, obviously, as well. But take us inside the team room that night. I mean, the mood must have switched completely.
Yeah. Well, it was buzzing, to be honest. The team room, as soon as we all got in there, which it took a while for everyone to get in because everyone was out there sort of celebrating and whatever. And then when we did get in there and Jose was making his speech, the room was really busy. The room was loud and everyone was chatting and everyone was and you think you're 10-6 behind here, but the whole thing just switched completely. And the other two lads did well winning too. Luke and, was it Luke and Sergio that managed that won? Mm-hmm. So it wasn't just Poulter and Rory. The other two did brilliantly too. But that was the game, because, I mean...
Well, you were dead and buried before.
Well, I mean, can you imagine 11-5 or whatever it would have been? There's no way. No one's ever come back from that. So it gave us a little bit of an opportunity. And it was the shortest speech that Jose gave all week that night in the hotel when we were all finished dinner, and he said, right, players and vice captains only into the little team room. So there was a big table and you all sat. He sat at the far end. The vice captains were sat up on the ledges and the players were around the table when he was at the end. And he kind of just went round every player and he said, are you going to win? And yes. Are you going to win? Yes. Are you going to win? Well, you're not going to say no. So everyone just said yes. And he said, okay, I have a great feeling about it. Let's go. Everyone got to bed. And that was it. Yeah. The whole thing was like a minute.
Yeah.
And then you wake up in the morning and you think, man, I'm not. And the other thing he said was, if the first 5 players can win, we will win. They will go. He used other words, but they will not handle that very well.
Yes,
putting it politely. Okay, go to bed. We win. We win tomorrow. I tell you, we win. And that was it. Everyone went to bed, and you woke up, and everyone played well. The first few games. Yeah. We did win the first 5 games. He was right.
Yeah.
And they totally went towards the end. Totally went. Mm-hmm. It's amazing how there's a lot of pressure, a lot of expectation on players when they play in that because they know how important it is and they know what it means to people. And when things start going wrong and you've got 12 other players, world-class players, all coming towards you, all playing well, that's pretty tough to stop. Momentum's a big thing in Ryder Cup. It's pretty tough to stop it when it's coming against you.
It's a strange thing, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, in team events.
McGinley always talks about that. Momentum in Ryder Cup is huge, and he's right. Yeah. When you've got that many players playing well. Yeah.
Before we leave the Ryder Cup, your other experience of the biennial battle was you were vice captain to Darren. What was that like, and what did you pick up? What surprised you? What was different? What went? Oh, I didn't realise that.
I enjoyed it. First of all, it's a little bit of a difficult role because you've not really got an awful lot of influence in what happens, and rightly so, because the captain's in charge, and the captain he does take your advice and he listens to what you've got to say. Well, Darren did, and then he'll go ahead and make his decision anyway, and he's the one that has to, right or wrong, he's the boy that's in the firing line. It was there was more to do before it than I thought. I thought that was amazing how many phone calls and stuff that we had and how many meetings we had and the stats and going through how the players are playing. And it was way more information than I thought that would ever be involved in that. There's a lot goes into it. It's not just the week that there was meetings going on for months prior to getting there, which I was surprised at. So that surprised me a little bit. And then when you get there, every captain has his own way of doing it. And I thought, not because he's a mate of mine, but I thought he was a good captain. I thought he did really well. I thought the players played for him. I thought the players respected him, which is the thing you must have. If you haven't got respect of your players, no matter what sport you're in trouble. And I think all the players bought into the way he did it and how he did it. His speeches were all really good. You could tell he was into it. You could tell he really wanted to be a winning captain. Right? Why would you not? And the only thing that happened was that our top players just didn't perform, and they lost.
Danny Willett thing.
The Danny Willett thing was tough. Yeah, that was tough. Yeah, that wasn't easy to deal with. I think he was struggling a wee bit anyway with his game, Danny, and then his brother is that what you mean? The brother goes and does what he does, which was just, don't know how anyone would ever think that's a good idea.
Total madness.
Yeah, I don't know why.
At that time, anyway. Yeah.
If that was my brother. So that was weird. And then you've got to deal with that, and he's got to deal with that, and I don't know. I just think that year if I remember rightly, they certainly played very well, the American team. They were more up for it than they ever did. They putted better than us. We had 6 rookies in our team away from home. And I know Darren in my opinion, got grief that he shouldn't have got.
You're always getting second guessed if you lose.
Absolutely. And there have been winning captains that have not been very good, but they've won. Yeah. So that's easy. That's hard to take too.
I do think of Sevi at Valderrama. I mean, Sevi was, nobody would be a bigger fan of Sevi than me, but my God, he got away with murder that week.
Yeah, but he won.
Aye, exactly.
And everyone just remembers that he won. And it was the same a little bit with Mark James. I thought Mark James did a really good job, apart from leaving the 3 players out. Mm-hmm. Everything else he did was brand new. He was brilliant with me that week. And 16 was very much the same for me. I don't think Darren did a hell of a lot wrong. I think he had to pick experience with the picks because there was rookies in there. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people have got problems with the Knox thing and the way that happened. But, I can get, again, why we all went the way we did, because we all had a say in it. We all got to say our opinion. We all went with the picks that we went with, and we all agreed. So it wasn't just Darren. And I felt sorry for him because he put a lot into it. I don't think he did anything wrong, really. And he was just a losing captain. It just so happens the other team plays better. You've got to get on with it.
Yeah, speaking of which, what did you make of last year's Ryder Cup?
Well, again, very similar, I thought, to Darren's one, where the American players, clearly just played, very, very well. But
you
apparently
look at the numbers. It wasn't fantastic.
You took the words right out of my mouth, because McGinley was talking about just recently that it wasn't that good as people think. No. Was it McGinley? I can't remember who it was, but somebody said.
Yeah, he said the same to me. So
right.
Obviously,
you look at the stats, he said, and you look at the numbers, and it wasn't that good. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it? When you're a losing captain, everyone's going to be picking what you do and how you do it and the way you are. And
well, I thought just for what it's worth, I thought they lost their way a bit with the narrative of the whole week. It became, we're great buddies, we're a great team, we're great pals, we're this, we're that, and they kind of lost sight of the fact that you've got to be a bit of a hard-nosed bastard in that. You can't be nice.
No, I get exactly what you mean, and the reason I said about trying to get the crowd on side, we did that a wee bit more, I thought, this last time than even we'd done it with the cheese on the head and all that kind of carry on and throwing things to the crowd. And listen, that is not going to make someone not call you a whatever on Friday morning. It's not, right? So why do we waste time? I don't get it. And every captain does it. Yeah. I just don't get it. Now, I'm not blaming Podrick I don't see why you would waste your energy and time trying to get a crowd on side that you're never going to get on side. They're always going to hate you when it comes to Friday. Deal with it. Yeah. Man up and play golf.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
You start to sound like your wife now. She says that, doesn't she?
Yeah,
Man up.
Yeah. It's also saying more than that, but that's for a podcast. That's all we can say.
Yeah.
But obviously Rory's interview, and he was obviously disappointed with the way he played, and a few of our top players again didn't perform, and it just shows you how important they are. It's a Ryder Cup team. Your top players. You're needing quite a few points from them, and that just, it just didn't happen, and it got away from us very early. It was tough watching, wasn't it? Very tough watching. Yeah. Nobody ever wants to be in that position. So, disappointed for Podrick, because he's been an amazing player and probably worked harder than anyone to give himself the career he's got, and to be a losing Ryder Cup captain, that's not right.
He's a lovely guy.
Lovely guy, great guy, but that's just how it is.
Yeah.
The facts are, they lost. So. Yeah.
We're near the end of this. You'll be pleased to hear, but bringing you right back up to date. I was trying to make a list of all the things that we could call you these days. I've probably not got them all in here, but there's player, agent, tournament promoter, driving range stroke course owner, junior foundation runner, board member of the European Tour just recently. Have I missed anything, or is that pretty much covering it?
Beer owner,
yes, I forgot about that.
How can you miss the most important one? I never thought I'd ever have my own beer. That's really cool. No, I think you've pretty much covered it. It's busy. What we did a few years ago, Marion and I decided that, yes, we probably had enough money that I didn't have to work much after I retired. The two of us have always kind of we've had good advice from Philip Barker at Arena Wealth. We've kind of put our money away and done things. But we wanted to have some businesses in place that if things did go wrong, and we were able to do it. So first thing that we did, the golf centre, we bought that in 2012. It was Aspire at the time, and we turned it into Paul Lawrie Golf Centre, and we got a few guys in as shareholders, and Mary and I have the majority share, but there's two other guys who have a share with us. And it's going well now, but it still is in a position where we've not got anything near back what we invested in it. So people think it makes a fortune, but in actual fact, it's still way down compared to what we put in. But we're getting there. It's busy now. It's starting to kind of do well.
I'm a business expert, but that's typical. I think.
I'm not saying it's not. It's a slow burner, and it's never going to make you enough money to totally retire. But listen, we enjoy having it. We both here every day when we're not away. We both work pretty hard at it. The staff are amazing. We've got a nice bunch of staff now who all do a good job. And then, the foundation's been going, as you know, since 2001. It's been going the longest. We started that a long, long time ago, and it's still going strong.
How many juniors have been through it?
Oh, it's hard to put a number on it, but thousands have been through it. And our new thing now, we're going away into schools with some PGA coaches, starting soon with the Paul Lawrie Academy, which is going to be part of the foundation. And Spencer Henderson and I, who's head of our performance, him and I are going to do golf days for juniors, where him and I take 9 juniors we're going to do 12 days a year, and we're going to take them away and we're going to test them in the morning, and I'm going to play golf with them in the afternoon, and then a Q&A at the end as to what we feel they should be working on with their game. Yeah. So we're going to look after a pile of kids doing that.
So there's a lot of people playing golf today because of you.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, I mean, we enjoy it. I mean, obviously, Marion's hugely involved in it as well. She checks them in, and she gives them their water and their fruit and their golf ball and all the stuff that they get to play. And then she does the prize giving. She tells me who to give what to. She tells me. I mean, there's a definite way that our marriage works, and it's rightly so. Thank God it's that way.
Well, I know, yeah. I mean,
had it been the other way, I don't know where it would be.
She needs a handle at your back just to make you work.
Well, she probably has got one of those.
Yeah.
But she's been amazing. So she enjoys it as much as I do. But no, I mean, we're involved in a few things. It's busy. And then the board, obviously, I was approached a while ago now by David Jones to go on the board, and it's never anything I thought. Again, a lot of things happened to me that I never ever think that I'd ever be in that position. And who would have thought that when you walk through the door at Bankery Golf Club as a 17-year-old 5 handicap, that one day you'd actually be asked to be a board member of the European Tour? It's pretty cool.
I'm going to ask you the obvious questions. Why did they ask you, and what do you think you're bringing to the table?
Well, I think they asked me now, as opposed to before, was that because we have got some businesses, on the go, and we are involved in quite a lot of stuff, and most of the stuff that we're involved in is successful and does well and does a good job for a lot of things. And also, I've played 620 events, so I think I come to it from both sides. And they've got a nice mix on there at the moment, where there's some big hitting business guys, there's some players, Bjorn's on there, McGinley's on there, they're both very good.
Yeah, you need that, don't you?
Of course you do. You need a nice mix, and they've got that. So I think that was why they asked me, a little bit of both. And I think more because of my work with golfers and young golfers and bringing them through, and I think they see there's a bit of perspective there for me, on the Challenge Tour side and on the Mini Tour side. I think they see that as maybe something that I might, kind of get a bit involved in. So I've only had one meeting so far. It's amazing to see the work they do. I really enjoyed it. It was about 5 hours in total, the meeting, 6 hours nearly in total with your lunch. So it was nice to be at it. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting. There's some stuff that obviously they're involved in, and I think the board are doing a good job, current board.
There's a lot going on with the tour.
There is a lot going on. Yeah. So it's exciting times. So at the minute, it's pretty cool to be involved in that. I'm honoured to be on it, to be honest. I never thought I'd ever be a board member. Yeah. So there you go.
I do have to pick on one aspect of your life at the moment, which is making me smile a little bit, is the fact that you're now an agent for tour pros. How is it dealing with tour pros from the other side of the table?
Well, that came about when I hurt my foot, and my foot was getting worse and worse. I first hurt my foot back in 2012 at the start of the year. And it just got, Ryder Cup, I was struggling with it a wee bit in Medina even. And it just got worse and worse and worse to the point where I'd been at quite a few specialists all over the world looking at it, and nobody could really pinpoint what was going on and how they could fix it. And I was in Munich for a week seeing the boy at Alathabal. and spent a fortune seeing him, and it made no difference. And then I thought I was done. I thought I was done as a player. I didn't think I'd ever play much golf anymore. And I thought, right, what am I going to do? I can't sit about doing nothing. Even though I don't probably need to work, I just thought, I can't be doing that. I can't be sitting about. Right. And I'd been helping David Law anyway, and not charging him for helping him with sponsors and getting people on board. And I'd always done the sponsorship at the foundation. I'd always got the money in for that. So, and I always enjoyed that. I always going to meet people and enjoyed sort of sitting with a corporate, and they would quite enjoy that they had me sitting there, and I think they would tell, and
take advantage of your profile.
Getting in the door is the hardest bit. So I thought it was easy to get in the door for me.
Yeah.
So I thought, I quite enjoy all that. And then I thought, right, we're gonna have our own sports agency, and we're gonna set it up. And Michael came up with a name, young Michael, 5-star sports agency, and off we went. And I'm enjoying it. It's
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh.
No, I was always a player that I gave out a little bit to my agents time to time. Never on an abusive front, but if they were honest, they would probably say that I was a little bit of hard work.
You're demanding.
I was demanding. That would be a good word. Yeah, and I'd be honest enough to say that. So I kind of went into it knowing that how players are, and I've been around for a long time. I'm not stupid, but we've got a nice bunch, and most of them are really, really good. Davy Law is by far the easiest that I work with. He's just amazing, Davy. He just gets on with it. He focuses on what he needs to focus on. He doesn't give me grief or Michael McDougall grief.
I've got a lot of time for him. He's a nice lad.
What he's got, he's very grateful for, and he just sees it the right way. So he's easy to deal with. And we've not got any that are an absolute nightmare, to be honest. They're all really, really good. They're all very grateful for what you do. And nobody's left yet. So I'm sure that'll happen at some point in time, but nobody's left yet.
How many have you got?
We've got...
How many is the sort of maximum?
Well, we're kind of at that now. We've had players ask me in the last little while, and I've turned them down for the first time. Because it's difficult to turn them down, because I've always been someone that has been open to helping anybody, really. I mean, I know how hard it is to try and break through, and I know how, with Craig, my son, and he's obviously played for a while now and not quite breaking through, even though I feel as though he's capable of doing it.
Level,
yeah. So he's now, he'll get some invites on the back of doing the Challenge Tour event now. Yeah. So I know how difficult it is. So to say no to people is quite difficult, because I know if they're coming to me for help, they want help. Yeah. But we have started to say no, because we've got 11 at the minute, right, plus me, so 12. And that's a manageable number, but it's a lot. It's a lot of players, because I do all the sponsorship. Mikey McDougall does all the flights and accommodation, and he looks after that side, and I do the sponsorship. And sometimes I feel under quite a bit of pressure, because these players are looking at me to bring in things and bring in deals. And sometimes when I feel as though I'm not doing a great job for a few of them, I do worry that, I'm not doing as good a job as I should be doing. And then you kind of come to yourself and you say, well, they're getting invites and they're getting this and they've all got a deal or whatever. So but I do feel under pressure quite a lot with it. Mm-hmm. And we probably have got a few too many. I don't think 12 is a lot of players to look after and do a good job for that many. But because we've also got...
Well, especially when you've got so much going on.
Yeah, we've got the Challenge Tour event now that we've taken on, and we've taken on the Tartan Pro Tour as well, which we started. And we've got this place, and we've got the foundation, and I still play quite a bit. So it's mega busy. But I'd rather be busy than sitting at home doing nothing. Mm-hmm. But we've probably got enough on our plate at the moment. We need to concentrate on doing a good job of all the things that we've got on before we kind of take on more.
Aye, yes.
But I'm enjoying it. I mean, it's rewarding when you get a deal for them and you know how much it means to them.
Yeah.
If you get a player $5,000 or $10,000, it's a lot of money for these players. Yeah. So you come out of a meeting when you do that and you get a right buzz out of it, I must say. Mm-hmm. Not quite winning, but it's close.
Yeah. Last question is, how much are you going to play going forward? I mean, the senior tour in Europe is... it's a bit here and there at the moment. What's your plans on that front?
Well, I think they've announced 15 events a minimum, and I think there's a few more that's going to be added. So they're on about 20 in total. So of that 20, I'm looking like playing maybe 12 or 13. So I'll still play. I don't enjoy playing as much as I used to. because my body's not capable of doing what I used to be able to do. And I mean, I hit 100 balls this morning, and I know for a fact I'm going to be struggling a little bit with my back and my foot this afternoon. That's a lot of balls now, when I used to hit 1,000 balls a day and not even worry. Yeah. So I can't do what I used to be able to do, and I kind of thought, right, I'll lose a bit of weight. I lost a bit of weight last year, and I've put a little bit back on. So I need to get back on that again and make sure that the least amount of weight you carry, the better when you're struggling with things. But no, I'm going to play a little bit. But most of my time will be taken up by the Tartan Pro Tour, the Challenge Tour event, 5-star sports agency, this and the foundation, as opposed to playing. It won't be the most important thing that I do now. But I still, when I do play, I still competitive. I don't like playing poorly.
No.
So I'll never not be competitive. And I've only won once on the seniors. I want to win a few more seniors. I thought I won more than that in the 3 years. Mind you, I lost a year with it, but I thought I won more than once. So I'm not happy at that. So I need to win more as a senior.
Some things never change.
No, I'll never. Hopefully, it'll never go away.
Paul Lawrie, thank you for your time. It's as ever, it's been enjoyable. I know you're a busy man, so I'll let you get back to it all.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
You always had the sense that despite his on-course success, and let's be honest, it doesn't get any bigger than winning the Open, always had the sense that Paul Lawrie was actually just a pretty normal bloke. And I think that chat there with Huggy pretty much confirmed that. Wonderful stuff from both of those guys, and I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did. Now, I hope you followed the show on your preferred podcast app, because on our next episode, we're going to meet a golf pro who's on a personal crusade to save public golf.
One of the issues that we have on public golf courses, and I have it all the time at Oakley, because during lockdowns it was being used as a park, there are a lot of locals who don't know anything about golf who are wandering across the golf course. I had a mother and child the other day, were about to hit off the first, and they walked down the side and they put a picnic blanket out on the fairway. So I just drove down there in the cart, and I said, hey, if you cross the bridge and put your blanket over there, you'll be fine. And I showed them the ball and the club. I said, you don't want to get hit by this. And they were great. Whereas a lot of golfers start yelling and screaming at them. And so they're a problem, yes.
That's Sandy Jamison, next time on The Thing About Golf.